Hi everyone! Today we're talking about the 16 MBTI types grouped into the 4 interaction styles and my personal observations with respect to how people in these different categories react or respond to leadership roles. What kind of leaders they tend to be, what they tend to do quite well and quite naturally as leaders, as managers, and what tends to be a little bit more difficult for them. This is not necessarily a theory that I've read somewhere. It's more so based on patterns that I've noticed over time that of course are correlated with the theoretical aspects as well, but are also things that I think seem to describe the types quite well in different contexts, people of different types, of different cultures, and so on and so forth. So all about that in the next few minutes. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. So the 16 types and leadership roles. Something that seems to be quite useful for me is the interaction style model created by Linda Burns. I've talked about it in several other videos, so if you're interested, feel free to check them out as well. But basically today I would like to relate this theory of the 4 interaction styles with leadership and management. So we know that there are 4 main interaction styles. We have the in-charge types or control types, ENFJ, ESTP, ESTJ, and ENTJ. We have the get things going style, also known as starters, that comprises of ENFP, ENTP, ESFP, and ESFJ. Then we have the finishers or chart the course types, INFJ, INTJ, ISTP, and ISTJ. And then we have the behind the scenes types, where we have INFP, ISFP, INTP, and ISFJ. Now, normally the types that I think, and I've seen to be very, very well represented in top management roles in bigger companies are the in-charge or the control types, obviously not surprisingly. I'm pretty sure that most of you have seen ENTJs and ESTJs leading large corporations, having CEO roles or general manager roles in a lot of different contexts. And then also ESTP and ENFJ, I've seen quite well represented in a lot of organizations. I used to work in human resources and I've interacted with many different companies of different sorts. And I've seen a lot of ESTPs and ENFJs as well. Maybe they're not as well represented in like CEO, top executive roles, but they also tend to often be found in like team leader roles or department manager roles, HR manager, sales manager roles, and so on and so forth. And I think for these types, it probably comes quite naturally to be a leader, because being an in-charge or control type means that they are the types that are most comfortable with thinking in terms of what is the outcome that we could achieve realistically as a team, and what can I do as a control type, as the head of this group, to mobilize resources from everybody in order to achieve that outcome. I think for these types, it comes naturally to be able to think in terms of this is the outcome, these are the resources that we have, these are the resources that we still need, and this is what we're going to do. And pretty much all of these 4 types find it quite easy, or it comes quite naturally to them to delegate, to talk to other people in terms of this is what needs to be done, this is your part, this is your part, and this is your part, and to kind of monitor progress and manage progress in such a way that the result is achieved. And normally they tend to be quite good at dealing with KPIs and measuring performance and being a bit more assertive with the people that they lead. I would say probably ENFJ is the type in this group that might struggle a bit more with assertiveness compared to the other ones because of the FE. But still, compared to ESFJs, for example, I still think ENFJs have a bit of a stronger push that they're able to send across to a certain group of people that they're leading or managing in some sort of way. Now, something that is not usually so easy for these types, especially for ENTJ, ESTJ, and sometimes ESTP as well, is balancing their need for control with their need or the environment's need or other people's needs for them to also let go of control sometimes. And this makes sense from a theoretical perspective, and honestly I've had so many ET types, especially ESTJ, ENTJ, ESTP, telling me, I love controlling these situations. I love bossing people around. I love making tough decisions. I love being assertive and pushing boundaries. And it's really uncomfortable for me to let go of that control. And of course, when you are in a top management role, it's very good to be like that. But if you're not, if you're an informal leadership role or a team leader role or something like that, or you're in a context where you kind of have to deal with leadership in such a way that you lead one section, somebody else leads another section, and so on and so forth, they tend to struggle a little bit with becoming a bit more flexible in those roles. ENFJs too, to a certain extent, but I think the FE helps them a little bit with that. But still, the general tendency here is, how can I create a balance between how much I'm pushing and how much I'm letting go and making space for other people to join? And I've seen these types making space for other people to also take control, because they say to themselves, yes, I have to do that, and it's important for me to do that. But inevitably, they end up getting frustrated that the other people are not leading correctly, or they're not leading in the way they want them to lead. And then something inside of them pushes them to want to take more control, and that creates more conflict again. Now, moving on to the next group, the get things going or the starter interaction style. So we have, like I said, ENTP, ENFP, ESFP, and ESFJ. Here I see these types more naturally attuned to being leaders in startup contexts or in NGOs, because they have a lot of new creative ideas and they enjoy starting new initiatives, and they enjoy kind of inspiring other people to join them in those initiatives. They're also quite likely to be found in inspirational leadership roles, maybe more informal type of leadership roles as well. Some of them also end up having top management, formal leadership roles, but I think statistically speaking, they're more likely to be found as startup owners, small business leaders, NGO leaders, informal leaders as well, or kind of leading certain initiatives or causes in volunteering, or kind of fighting for certain causes, things like that. And what I see comes quite naturally for these people in leadership situations is inspiring others. They tend to be really good at, really believing in an idea and having other people believe in that idea too, getting other people excited about idea, getting other people to find inner resources and inner motivation to really fight for that cause or believe in that cause or do something for that cause. This is why they can be very successful in entrepreneurial or NGO kind of environments, because this natural propensity or attitude that they have is very well suited for that. And they are a bit more flexible than the control types when it comes to managing the balance between making decisions and allowing other people to make decisions. They tend to find it a bit easier to have that balance. However, what I see these types tend to struggle the most with is being a bit more firm on the one hand, in terms of setting boundaries with people, in terms of kind of holding the time and the focus and the space on the things that need to be done. Because naturally they tend to be a bit more scattered individuals in the way that they think, in the way that they communicate, in the way that they act, more creative, more flexible. And because of that, the drawback in certain situations can be that they forget to set clear time frames, clear deadlines, clear measurement strategies or styles, and this can become confusing for the people that they lead to a certain extent. Sometimes they might forget to follow up on things or get distracted and start doing something else, or get inspired by a new idea and forget all about the one that they started before. And as a result, this can be frustrating for people that they lead, especially if those people are of a different style. For example, a chart the course style or a control type as well. They might need more structure, more clarity, more information about deadlines that they need to reach. And the get things going types might forget about that, might not consider that, or might find it really stressful to do it, because that's usually not how they normally operate. So in companies, for example, these types can really benefit from being trained and mentored to develop these skills, because it's not naturally what they do well. Moving on to the third group, we have the chart the course or the finisher interaction style. So INTJ, INFJ, ISTJ, and ISTP. Now, for these types, I see that normally they don't necessarily want to be leaders or managers because of the introversion. They prefer working on their own by themselves, but they do sometimes find themselves being promoted to leadership roles or management roles. So what do they do in those situations? Here, the positive part is that these types are very good at holding the time and the space so that the desired outcomes are achieved, so that the goals are achieved. I literally imagine this like red thread that goes from the start point to the desired ideal goal or outcome. And, you know, these four types are really the best at kind of tightening things up: time, resources, people, energy, conversations, tasks, so that everything kind of follows that red thread and that red line. And this can be really good in leadership or management roles because they can help other people stay focused on what's really important. They can help other people get done things that are really important to get done. They can help other people stay structured and focused on the goal and really not waste a lot of time and energy and resources, not waste a lot of time talking about things that have been talked about many times before. I think people in this group are the ones who are the most sensitive to having too many meetings or meetings that are too long where nothing gets done, because it really interferes with their natural style. Something that is not so comfortable for people in this group, something that they struggle with when it comes to leadership roles, is exactly this introversion. So it can be very overwhelming for people in this group to have a long-term management or leadership role because being in that position requires more conversations, more interactions, more meetings, sometimes being a bit more assertive and pushy and making tougher decisions and standing up for yourself. And due to the introversion, this can become a little bit overwhelming, challenging, and lead to burnout. They are quite likely to experience burnout in these roles because they don't externalize enough. They might kind of keep doing things and keep not delegating, and as a result of that really become overwhelmed. I would say that INTJ and ISTJ are a bit better in this group at really delegating compared to INFJ and ISTP, but still it might not come as naturally to them as it comes to the control types, who are more extroverted. So as a result of that, there can be an excessive amount of work that is being done, sometimes not enough communication with other people involved in that project, and as a result, a lot of frustration can add up internally in time, inside of themselves, and sometimes also in the people that they work with, who might feel like, okay, not enough has been said, not enough has been communicated. Okay, and moving on to the last group, the behind the scenes types. So INTP, ISFP, ISFJ, and INFP. I think, it's quite self-explanatory and obvious that these types are the least likely to enjoy leadership positions. They are called behind the scenes for a reason. They are much more comfortable with roles where they are supporting from the background. However, that doesn't mean they cannot be leaders. That doesn't mean that they are not leaders in the real world. Sometimes they are. Less in terms of like numbers compared to the control types, for example. But of course, sometimes it happens. And I do think they have a surprising advantage because when it comes to their natural skills and their positive aspects in relation to leadership roles, these types are really good at focusing on quality. I think out of all of the interaction styles, they are the ones who value quality and things being done well the most. The control types and the chart the course types care a lot about efficiency and timeliness. So sometimes this could cause sacrifice in quality. The starters care about quality, but sometimes they might have too many ideas and be scattered into too many different directions, and this can also impact quality negatively. However, people in the behind the scenes group are fantastic at really ensuring quality, spending enough time learning about something, understanding something, researching something, polishing something, really digging deeper. That's what they're naturals at. And I'm constantly amazed when I interact with such individuals because of the depth that they have. And of course, in certain types of leadership roles, quality and ensuring quality is absolutely essential. For example, if you are like a quality manager in a factory, quality, it goes without saying, it's absolutely important. In certain types of medical roles, if you're a leader, again, quality is absolutely essential. I also somehow seem to see these people very often concerned with ethics and morality and doing things in a moral way, in an ethical way. So actually they can be also very good at implementing or ensuring that things are being done in a morally correct way. And again, as leaders, that can be a great thing, and they can have amazing contributions in society because of that ability or interest. Now, the negative aspects here are that sometimes it can be really, really exhausting for them, maybe even more so than for the chart the course types, because first of all, they are introverts. So again, all the meetings, all the extroversion, all the need for interaction with others can be really exhausting, can cause them to feel really overwhelmed and burnt out. They are also not particularly comfortable with delegation naturally. It's a skill they need to develop. So this can also be a pain point for them in leadership roles. And lastly, they also don't function so well with a lot of structure. It's easier for the chart the course types to deal with structure, to deal with deadlines, to deal with efficiency, whereas for these people it can be quite challenging. So especially in certain types of leadership roles, in certain types of organizations, they get really overwhelmed because of that. And because they want to focus so much on depth and quality, sometimes they might sacrifice timeliness and reaching things until a certain deadline. And again, this depends on the situation. Sometimes it's okay to focus more on quality and finish something later than you were supposed to, but sometimes it's not. And in those cases, they can become really, really stressed and overwhelmed. And this can cause problems for other people, of course, that they work with as well. Okay, so these are my thoughts on the 4 interaction styles and how their strengths and weaknesses are reflected in different types of leadership or management roles. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was interesting and inspirational for you, and that if you found yourself in one of these groups, that you can take something out of it in terms of reflection material, or if you know somebody else of a different type, that maybe this video can help you better understand their behavior or better understand how you can support them if that's the case. Again, I want to remind you guys that I offer self-awareness coaching sessions where I can help you in terms of better understanding yourself, your values, your vision, your personality, and making the changes that you want to make in your life as a result of that. I'm a professional coach certified by the International Coaching Federation, and I have a background in psychology and psychotherapy. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check out the link in the description below. It will take you to my website. Again, thank you very much for being with me. Thank you very much for watching this video, and see you next time with another video on typology.